Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Karen, the Women's Midlife Specialist, and I've got another great set of labs for you today. This is DM. She is 55 years old. She's post-menopause, and she sent a note with her labs telling me that she was on Hormone Heaven twice per day. She two pumps twice per day. She did not test before she started Hormone Heaven, but she feels that it's helped her quite a bit. However, she feels that she's not quite right yet. The last time she used it was 23 hours ago, prior to her testing, which is very good. It should be between 12 and 24 hours. So that gives us a good set of labs. Now, she's totally not where she needs to be yet. We see an estradiol of 1.3, and if she were using our optimal reference range of 1.3 to 3.3, she'd be in what ZRT considers optimal, but most women actually feel best when they're at their higher end of optimal range, which is closer to 3.3, 4, 5, 6, and even 7. And the reference range for people who are using hormone replacement is actually normal between zero point 0.8 and 12. So she is 1.3. I can't even imagine she would be much, much lower if she wasn't using Hormone Heaven two pumps twice per day. And then her progesterone is still quite low at 40, with a progesterone to estrogen ratio of only 31. Now, prior to using Hormone Heaven, these were probably even lower, and it would match how low these other things are, like testosterone 23 and DHEA 2.2. And her cortisol appears to be at the highest end of normal and a little bit high for where she is, where she took her saliva, at what time of day she took it. So her testosterone is down here, actually just a little below average for a postmenopausal woman who is not on any testosterone. Her DHEA is just below normal, and her morning cortisol taken at about 5 a.m. was actually high for a 5 a.m. testing. So let's look at her labs and see what we can find out. I mean, not the labs, I'm sorry, the symptoms. And here we go. Let's just first zip right on down to here and see what her top groupings are in terms of her symptoms. So here it is, right where we're seeing the estrogen and progesterone that are low in her actual saliva labs are exactly what seem to be bothering her most with the estrogen, low estrogen and progesterone symptoms. Second to that is a high cortisol, which, surprise, surprise, she had a high morning cortisol, and this is her second highest area of complaint. Now, the third highest area, big surprise here, right? Low androgens, DHEA, and testosterone. And that is the third area of complaint, which is exactly what her labs show. The fourth area, very close. Now, this is low cortisol, and low cortisol, high cortisol, they're going back and forth, or symptoms, or both. So, this indicates an adrenal dysfunction, and then hypometabolism or low thyroid. Now, the low thyroid doesn't really surprise me either, because when we look at the other things that she's using, I think I need to go over here. What the other things that she's using, other than this Hormone Heaven, is that she's also using levothyroxine at 88 micrograms, which is a T4 prescription for a low thyroid. Now, if we were looking at her labs right now, or I suspect if we were looking at her labs before she even started Hormone Heaven, we'd be seeing much lower estradiol and progesterone, and the ratios would be such that she would still remain in this category. So estradiol of 1.3, she and a progesterone of 40 were and progesterone to estrogen ratio 31 were in this category right here. This does say less than 1.3, and this is 1.3 to 1.6. I suppose she was much less than 1.3 before she started on Hormone Heaven. So we're going to pop her into this category right here, which is 2 pumps in the morning and 2 pumps at bedtime of Hormone Heaven, exactly what she's doing, and 1 pump in the morning and 1 pump at bedtime and of Hormone Protect, which would get her out of, with this extra progesterone, get her out of estrogen dominance. Now she's already using Hormone Heaven 2 pumps twice a day. So what I am recommending that we do is actually change that up a little bit. Instead, we know that she's already using that and she actually needs a little more. So hang in there. I'm going to explain that in just a moment. But before we do that, I want to stimulate your thinking just a little further and give you an additional thing to think about. What might also be happening here is extremely very important to consider, and that would be, is the cream, the Hormone Heaven cream, being applied properly? Could you, DM, be potentially applying Hormone Heaven on top of any moisturizers? Could you be applying a moisturizer on top of Hormone Heaven? Could you be using a moisturizing soap in the shower? These are all extremely common mistakes that happen, particularly during the winter when our skin is drier and itchier. So, if you are using any kind of moisturizing cream, the hormone cream is going to be absorbed by the moisturizing cream because the hormone creams are fat soluble and so are moisturizing creams. So they're going to take the route of least resistance. So, like electricity, you know how it takes the path of least resistance? Well, everything takes the path of least resistance, right? So, the hormone cream will be sucked up into the moisturizing cream if you're using any moisturizer. Another way this can happen is if you don't use gloves when you apply the hormones, and then you use your hand or hands and you have moisturizer on your hand. It could very well bind to the moisturizers in your hand instead of absorbing into the skin. So I want to throw this out there because it's very important to consider, because I'm going to make recommendations based on a mix of both of these things. 1A, the fact that I believe you need a little bit more, basically because of your age, you're young, and you're not heavy set. You're on a little bit, maybe you could bring this BMI down a little bit, but I have a feeling that you still need a little bit more. And 2, possibly human error. Human error is pretty common. I mean, you know how we get mad at our computers. We say our computer did this or that, or the refrigerator did this, or the car did that. But almost always it's human error if we sit back and say, maybe I maybe I did do something wrong. So I'm going to give you some additional recommendations for that, just in case. And then we're going to tweak it just a little bit in case you need a little bit more without going overboard. But before I go there, let's finish with assessing your labs and finish looking at your symptoms as well. So when we look at testosterone being 23, we see that this is a little bit below average for your age. There you are right there. Average would be the little green line. Okay, that's not bad. It's not bad for somebody, not using using any testosterone or using any DHEA particularly. But here's our optimal spot over here. And then when we look at DHEA, unfortunately, you're below even the lowest end of normal. So if you wanted to optimize this, which would be highly recommended for um, immune function, and very important for stress, to support the adrenal glands, we've got a little ways to go. So for some people, I'm one of them, for some people, getting DHEA up to nice healthy levels is challenging. It's usually with people who are type A personalities, really, really work hard, or may have a very high or slightly high cortisol, or high and low, just really dedicated people. But let's hope that you are that, but let's hope that you're not going to be one of those, because your DHEA is low for your age without supplementation. And this suggests adrenal axis dysfunction. And I wanted to show you why that is, because I don't think I've done this too much. So here's our cortisol down here. This is the hormone cascade. Everything starts with cholesterol. Cholesterol is fat, which the first hormone that is made from cholesterol is pregnenolone, and that goes off into two different areas. One goes to progesterone, and one leads eventually to DHEA. Now, progesterone is the precursor with a couple intermediaries to cortisol. So, when the adrenal glands are fatigued, when they're having to work excessively for any length of time because of stress and just difficult, you know, just a generally difficult life, then progesterone is going to go down, and so is DHEA. Now, progesterone is going to be used to make cortisol for those stressful times. And then what happens? The adrenal glands are I hate to use the word fatigued, but the adrenal glands are stressed and therefore make less of the hormones that they need to make, which includes DHEA. So, for you, my darling, cortisol is high in the morning. So, this is additional signs of adrenal stress and adrenal dysfunction. And when I look at your symptoms, let's pop on down there now. When I look at your symptoms, the number one symptom that disturbs me, and I'm sure disturbs you too, is this sleep difficulty. Your sleep is disturbed, and this is just unacceptable, because obviously sleep is not a luxury. Sleep is a necessity. We heal during our sleep. Our brains clear during our sleep. Our body heals while we're sleeping. And when we wake, we are much more refreshed, and our everything works better. Now, you are having a moderate amount of night sweats, though you do say that this has improved. That in and of itself, either not absorbing Hormone Heaven enough for one reason or another, those that I mentioned earlier, or you simply need higher dosing, and some women do. I should share mine with you. I have an estrogen. I just received my labs back today. My estrogen's 2.3. Estradiol is 2.3. And I'm happy with that, but it's 2.3. But I use 4 pumps twice daily. Okay, of the Hormone Heaven. Okay, I don't use extra hormone protect, but I do use 4 pumps twice daily of Hormone Heaven, and I have a 2.3. So this gives you an idea that some of us need a little bit more than others. So part of it is the stress factor. Part of it is the lifestyle that some of us live. Obviously, I live a very active life, and Uh, if you only knew. So, in your situation, I believe that this could be occurring with you too. Stress requires higher levels of cortisol. This comes from progesterone. The adrenal glands are less active at producing DHEA, and thus DHEA decreases. So that's another thing that we want to take care of for you. So what are we going to do for you? Now we're on the plan. So we did the assessment, let's move to plan. The first thing I'd like is to increase your hormone heaven. This is what I recommend, to 3 pumps twice daily with very careful application. And I'll go over that in just a minute and be very helpful for other people as well. Then I'd like to add Hormone Protect. 2 pumps before bed. Now, why 2 pumps before bed instead of 1 pump twice daily? Because progesterone is helpful for sleep. And I'd like you to try applying this Hormone Protect in the evening to your neck. Alternate between the front of your neck and the back of your neck. It's actually going to be good for your skin as well. Progesterone is very good for your skin. In our creams, we also have hyaluronic acid, which is moisturizing for the skin as well without adding a fat. So, hyaluronic acid is extremely healthy for our skin and is in most high quality skin creams. And this happens to be in all of our young hormone creams. So I put that in there on purpose because I like to apply it to my neck. A lot of times we take care of our faces, but we don't take care of our necks, and that really shows our age over time. So apply to this alternating front to back on your Hormone Protect. And we also know that I just recently learned at the American Academy of Anti-Aging, this last conference, I guess it was either 1 or 2 weekends ago, that applying creams to the back of your neck have faster absorption into your brain. So progesterone increases a neurotransmitter called gamma aminobutyric acid, which is our calming neurotransmitter. And this is what helps us fall asleep as well. The other thing that I want to just give you a couple of my little tricks that I've learned along the way, because sleep is vital and I want you to start getting good sleep. So make sure you have that fan on, turn on a fan. Here's a key: drop that temperature in your bedroom 4 to 5 degrees cooler than the temperature during the day, because our core body temperature needs to be lower at night. And all people, men, women, all people need to have a lower core body temperature at night in order to reach the deeper levels of sleep. And as we get older, we have shorter periods in the deep stage 3 and 4 sleep. So we need to lower that temperature in the room 4 to 5 degrees. The other thing is we commonly bring that sheet or blanket all the way up to our neck, and that prevents a good exchange of temperature from our body. So what we really would be better is if you only bring it up to the underarms. Bring that blanket, if you use a blanket or sheet, only up to the underarms, and allow your arms and your chest to be out for the evening. Okay, so how about some little key tidbits on applying the moisturizers? So don't apply any moisturizer at all in any of the areas you apply hormones. So you're going to rotate your sites where you put your hormones, your upper arms. It could be from your biceps to the inner arm to the triceps, the whole upper arm here area, the lower back, just above the buttocks area, where the belt line is, where a lower belt line is, not up around the waist, but just the lower back there, right above where the top of our buttocks crack is. The sides of our buttocks, so there it's kind of on the cheeks of our buttocks, on the sides there, and then the inner and back of both thighs. So those are the areas to rotate your hormone sites. Always use gloves, and apply hormones in the morning for at least 15 minutes before you put your clothes on, because if you don't do that. It might get in the clothes instead of in your skin. And then the same thing before bed. Try to apply them at least 15 minutes before going to bed, so it doesn't rub off in the bed. Okay, so what about that DHEA and the adrenals? The DHEA, I'm hoping this will be enough for you. I don't know that it will be, but it might if we can get that sleep controlled. If we can get that sleep controlled, your adrenal glands will get stronger, and then your can produce more DHEA on its own. So this DHEA, 5 milligrams in the morning for about a month. You may, if you don't feel any anxiety or irritability after taking DHEA, then I would say don't even wait a month. Go 2 weeks and increase it to 10 milligrams daily, because I already know that you're going to need 10 milligrams, DM. Okay, so Adrena 5, very important. Now, all of the body systems need nutrients, all extensive nutrients, and omega-3 fatty acids. And that's why I look at treating you as a whole. So you want to make sure that you're on a good nutrient supplement. That's vitamins, minerals, anti-inflammatory, CoQ10, omega-3s, and these are critical in all of your hormone function, all of your body functions, including hormones. So this also this happens to be an excellent one, and I hate to just tell you to go and get on an excellent one and not give you any recommendations. This is one that I highly recommend. And with this, Adrena 5 has the adaptogens for your adrenal glands to help support them and bring down that morning cortisol. And then if you have a low cortisol later in the day, bring that cortisol up to assist with adrenal function. Okay, what's next? Okay, well, I can't leave you without talking about your thyroid because you're on levothyroxine. And so I want to make sure that this isn't playing a factor in any of your symptoms. Thyroid is very complicated, and you're on 100% T4. Well, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're able to take that T4 and convert it to T3, free T3. If you're not able to do that and it goes to the reverse T3, this is inactive. It will bind to the T3 receptor sites and prevent your most active thyroid hormone from getting into the cell. Now, a lot of nutrients are required in all of these enzymatic reactions to make thyroid hormone. And that is why I'm saying you gotta be on a nutrient, a supplement. You've got to be, because there's so many functions in our body, then we're lacking in so many nutrients. I don't care what any conventional doctor wants to tell you, that you can get it all from your food. All you have to do is read the nutrition labels or look up on the internet as to what nutrition is in every single food you eat, and you will find very quickly, after you just check a few of your foods, that you are deficient. So here, what I would recommend is, when you have your thyroid hormones tested next time by your doctor, ask for these particular tests: TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, and TPO. If you haven't already done a TPO, if you've had a TPO that is negative, then you don't really need to keep repeating this. This is a thyroid peroxidase, which is an antibody for Hashimoto's. So if this is positive, you want to follow that. If it's not, you don't need to. Now, if you have a problem getting these tests, you can get most of them. You can't get the reverse T3. That's why I really do love the venous blood work for thyroid, but you can get most of them. You can get free T4, free T3, TSH, TPO through a ZRT blood spot, but these here you can get in venous blood, and hopefully your doctor will order these for you. And then here's what you want to look for. You want to look for ranges in the optimal reference range. So there's conventional reference range, and then there's optimal reference range. And the optimal reference range is through functional medicine belief. For instance, our TSH levels optimally should be between zero point 0.5 and 1.3, and this could be plus or minus zero point 0.3, so it could be 0.2 to 1.6. Somewhere in there is where you want your TSH. But in conventional reference ranges, it'll take you from 0.2 to 4 point something. And when you get that high, you are exhausted and have muscle cramps and hair loss and eyebrows that are getting thin and or regular hair getting thin, and just on and on. And when we look at your symptoms, let's see, we got to go over here. We could look at your symptoms and see some of your complaints. We got thinning. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. All of these here, decreased stamina, that's obvious. That could be many things as well. This dark one is metabolic, evening fatigue, fibromyalgia, aches and pains, sleep disturbed. These are your major ones. Hot flashes and night sweats, as you see, can be low thyroid, as well as, so all of these things, hot flashes and night sweats could be low thyroid, they could be low estrogen and progesterone, and they could be low metabolism. So, I'm sorry, they could be I said that, low metabolism. Where did I go? Okay, low metabolism. What is right next to that? High cortisol, I think. High cortisol. So it could be high cortisol that can cause hot flashes. It can be low metabolism that causes hot flashes, and it could be estrogen and progesterone deficiency. Now, I do think, though, when we look at your labs, we're dealing with a little low in the estradiol, and I certainly don't like that progesterone to estrogen ratio. But again, remember, it can be all three of those things. So we've got all three of those things happening. We've got potentially low thyroid, that the levothyroxine isn't quite kicking it. It could be, this is the low metabolism category. This is the high cortisol category, and this is the low estrogen and progesterone. So after you take a look at that and you get a chance to see what your labs are, your TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, and TPO, if they don't fall in this optimal range, I'd highly recommend adding this supplement to your regimen. The other option would be to use a different type of thyroid medication, such as a natural desiccated thyroid like Armor or Nature-Throid. But this would be an option that you could do on your own to help improve that conversion of T4 to T3 to get more bang for your buck. All right, DM, I hope this was helpful for you. I know it was extremely comprehensive, and it was my pleasure to help you this day, and just my absolute pleasure to help so many of you, and to show you how much I appreciate you. All right, have a wonderful day. Give me a thumbs up, guys, and I appreciate that too. All right, and you take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.